There's a hostile third party trying to grab the wealth and take it from you in some malicious, frivolous lawsuit, or even if it's some other kind of claim, can they get the property? And the answer is no, they can't. So when do we use this kind of irrevocable dynasty trust? The two things we want is no tax when you die on this property and no availability to your creditors. There's a couple of triggers. We use it when you have a big estate. Now, big, in air quotes, is a kind of a moving target. The definition of big is often tied to the federal estate tax threshold, which has changed many times historically in the past. Today, it's pretty big. And in fact, it's now permanent. We'll have to put that in air quotes too, which means basically that it does not have a built-in automatic sunset or expiration date built into it. So typically that number has been the number at which, if you're at or near or above that, your estate is big. Today in 2026, that number is $15 million for an individual or $30 million for a married couple. Now, in the days of Gilligan's Island, if you had $1 million, you were way over that threshold. Now, to be over the same Gilligan's Island threshold, it takes $15 million or $30 million. So we call that inflation. If your estate's at or above that threshold, then an irrevocable dynasty trust can be very valuable, because we're going to do what with it? We're going to get assets out of your taxable estate so they don't get taxed when you die. Another threshold is you want to do asset protection. So when do people need to do asset protection? How much money do you have to do asset protection? Well, in my experience working with a lot of clients, it's not about how much money you have, it's about how much risk you have. We have situations where people have $1 million or less, but they have a high-risk business or occupation, and they're concerned that if there is a liability from that, they're going to lose the little tiny bit that they have. And so for them, somebody in that profile, doing more vigorous asset protection is worth it. A third trigger is you are already doing multi-generational business and financial activity. And let me tell you, if you're not doing that, you should. If you want your wealth to be something that continues to grow multi-generationally, you have to involve future generations. The more you involve them, the more you give them early training, the more you give them the benefit of your wisdom, the more you give them life experience, the more you give them opportunity to learn by failing and coming back from their failures and learning how to succeed in spite of their success. The more you do that, the more you help the people, the more likely that your wealth is going to grow and get bigger multi-generationally. So if you're doing that, if you're doing any level of that, even if your estate maybe starting out little, that irrevocable dynasty trust can be very valuable and a very powerful tool. Now, it's important to understand, what do we typically put in the trust? So when we're making that gift, we're giving it away, it's no longer in our taxable estate, it's no longer available to our creditors, what do we put in it? And one of the classic things that goes there that most people don't even think about, are not even aware of, it's not on their radar, is life insurance. And this is a tricky thing. Life insurance has some quirky tax attributes. If you own a life insurance policy on yourself, how much of that death benefit do you get to enjoy during your lifetime? And the answer is zero. To have the death benefit, you have to be dead. So the good news and the bad news is the same thing. You're dead, oh, but you have a death benefit. So we think, well, that's not mine, I don't get that. But under the tax code as it's currently written, that death benefit is included in and taxed as part of your taxable estate under federal tax law when you die. So when the estate tax threshold was small, it didn't take very much. You buy a life insurance policy and it pushes you over that limit. You could inadvertently be paying life insurance premiums for the benefit of the IRS. Who wants to sign up for that deal? That's kind of stinky. Now with a $15 million per individual or $30 million for a married couple, maybe the life insurance is way below that. But if you are at or approaching that estate tax threshold, one of the first things we want to get out of your taxable estate is that life insurance. So if you're buying a new policy, we want to have that policy purchased by and owned by the irrevocable trust. We have now evolved what was once a very simple and single purpose type of trust into a multi-purpose, much more robust trust that can do a heck of a lot more than simply own life insurance. But life insurance is one of the first things. The second thing we're going to put into this irrevocable trust is typically a non-controlling, and that's key, non-controlling fractional interest in business entities. So this trust can own part of the business, part of your LLC, part of your limited partnership, part of your corporation. And it can be structured so that the part it owns is not controlling. And a classic example is sometimes we use a management company. A term we like to use to describe this management company is a family office, which is a little more personal and direct and practical than maybe some of the traditional uses of the term family office that you might hear floating around out there. This is a family office that you own, that you're not renting services from some service provider. It's not some third party that's doing something for you. It's your family owns it. And this company is going to manage assets and business activities in your family and in your family estate. And often we can cause a big chunk of this family office entity to be owned by the irrevocable dynasty trust so that two things happen. One, it's out of the taxable estate, and two, unavailable to creditors. And if in this family office structure we build control, so it controls other entities out there, your other business activities, we've now siloed control so that control cannot be taken away from you. Use of this kind of device, this combination of a management company with an irrevocable trust, is one of the magic ingredients that allows people to do that amazing thing that you've heard talked about by uber wealthy people for a long time, to own nothing and control everything. So this is a key element in a structure that, again, allows you to have control. You get to keep control. The bad guys that sue you for some trivial or frivolous event are not able to take control away from you. You've locked up control. And in fact, you've locked up control in your family multi-generationally, because, by the way, the one thing that can take control from you, whether you like it or not, is, drumroll please, death. Sooner or later, you're going to die. You do not get control from beyond the grave. So if you've set up this structure properly, control is going to stay where? Where you want it, which is typically in your family and in qualified people that your family may engage or employ for purposes of helping run, manage, control, and build and grow and protect the family wealth. So we put non-controlling fractional shares of business entities in this irrevocable dynasty trust. Another thing we often put in there is a fractional piece of another type of entity that we generically like to describe as the family bank. Now, this could be a limited partnership, it could be an LLC, it could be a series of LLCs, it could be, there's a wide variety of ways this could be structured. But the point is, we're going to have entities that own equity, that own property. So, for example, we have an LLC that owns a rental property, and we want to be protected from the rental property, so any liabilities it has does not reach out and grab us and hurt other assets. And we want the rental property to be protected from us. So if we have a car accident or some other unrelated liability that has nothing to do with the rental property, that the predatory plaintiff cannot reach in and grab the rental property and take it away from us. So to do that, to accomplish that, we structure the LLC that owns that rental property so a fraction, a piece of it, typically a non-controlling piece, is owned by that irrevocable dynasty trust, and the other piece may be owned by a family bank entity or another trust. There's a variety of ways that can be structured. So the point is, And oh, by the way, control is managed by the management company that we've talked about, that family office thing. So now control is in one pot, and we have other pots of equity so that if there's a hostile third party trying to grab the wealth and take it from you in some malicious, frivolous lawsuit, or even if it's some other kind of claim that the insurance doesn't cover or whatever, can they get the property? And the answer is no, they can't. The property is protected. And if there's a problem with the property, there's a slip and fall, there's some unfortunate accident, and it's the liability is greater than the insurance that you've bought on the property, and they want to reach out and attach other assets, can that liability escape that LLC and get out and hurt other things? And the answer is, if you've done it right, no. And I want to comment on LLCs. We encounter LLCs all the time that are not giving people the protection that they think they have. Merely having an LLC alone does not give you protection. The LLC has to be structured properly to get the protection, and it has to be operated consistent with that structure to give you the protection, and the taxes have to be reported consistent with the structure. So there's structure, operation, and tax reporting all have to be lined up appropriately to give you the protection that you want. And we often find one or several of those things are just disjointed. And LLCs get clobbered all the time in the courts. They do. And it's a common thing, and litigation lawyers know it. And they know how to find the LLCs that are not well structured so that they can reach in and grab the assets, or so that the liability inside the LLC leaks out and contaminates other things that you want to protect. We counsel and help clients with these kind of dynastic planning issues all the time. If this is something that you would like to pursue, click on the boxes below, get in the queue. We'll get to you as quickly as we can. We love helping families structure their wealth and their businesses and their taxes so that not only does the wealth survive and last and grow, but the family survives and thrives and prospers multi-generationally.